Hi guys, and welcome to a new reading vlog. We're finally in October. Today's October 4th. It's a new weekend, so I'm just ready to lie in bed and read. I have been in the mood to read a cozy, witchy fantasy book. So the book that we're gonna be reading in this video is Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood. I have read Rewitched by this author last year and I really enjoyed that. I feel like I'm still trying to find the type of cozy fantasy that works for me. This one worked for me, so I wanted to read more books by this author. So I actually don't know what this is about, except that it's cozy and it's witchy. So I'm gonna start reading this and I will come back to let you guys know more on what this book is about. Hi guys, so I'm now about 120 pages into Uncharmed. So the beginning of this book, we spend a lot of time just getting to know the female main character. Her name is Annie and she is a witch. She owns a little bakery. There are so many descriptions of bakery goods in this book, so beware if you have a sweet tooth because you're gonna get a lot of cravings. Annie also does some work for the coven. Annie's personality is a bit of like a perfectionist. She is very organized and then everything has to look perfect, be in a perfect place. She has to look perfect all the time. And also she's a bit of a people pleaser. I mean, she kind of has a good heart. Like if she sees somebody having a hard time, she would try to talk to them and somehow lift up their spirit. She feels satisfied when she can make other people feel better. So with this type of personality, you also know that she's definitely overworking herself too much. So a lot of the beginning of the book, we're just following her daily life and learning about her personality. So it's a little bit slow paced in the beginning and a lot of cozy vibes, but the story definitely picks up when the coven gives an assignment to Annie. So the coven asks Annie to help guide or be a mentor for this orphan teenage witch. The teenage witch, she has a bit of trouble trying to control her powers, and this is where Annie's kind of like perfect personality, perfect life kind of crumbles a little bit because you can't really control, a hormonal teenager, and Annie and the teenager, they're butting heads a lot. The coven decides that Annie and the teenager should live outside of the city and be surrounded by more nature. So they gave them this small little cottage to live in while Annie tries to teach and train the teenager. And then I haven't reached this part in the book, but I know at the back here that the cottage belongs to a warlock and he's not gonna be happy once he finds out that Annie and the teenage witch is living in his home. So my thoughts so far on this book, again, as I said, there's a lot of cozy vibes and a lot of mentions of food and bakery goods. The female main character, Annie, she reminds me a little bit of who is that character that Reese Witherspoon plays in Legally Blonde? And also that main character that Amy Adam plays in Enchanted. Very girly, everything is pink. It's definitely a book that I recommend if you want very cozy vibes. And I think if you enjoy the very secret society of irregular witches, you might enjoy this book as well. For me, I do like it, but I also need a little bit more action. I think the first book, Rewitch, had more action, so I like that book a little bit more, but I'm only 100 something pages into this. Hopefully this story picks up a little bit more. I do feel like I'm enjoying it more now that Annie is interacting with the teenager. So I'm gonna read more of this book and I will come back with my next check-in. Hi guys, it's another Saturday morning. So I have finished reading Uncharmed, and I also started a new book last night. I started reading A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. But first we're gonna talk about Uncharmed. At my last check-in, I mentioned that the main character, Annie, she is this sort of like perfectionist. Well, she always tries to appear perfect, and she's also a people pleaser and always overworking herself. So she agreed to the coven's request to train this young orphan witch. That young teenager's name is Maeve. So the coven asked them to go stay in this little cottage outside the city for the training. And the cottage actually belongs to a warlock. The warlock also works for the coven. So he returns to his cottage and he finds these two strangers in his home, but he eventually allows it. He is kind of like a gruffy kind of guy, but he has a kind heart. So the three of them stay together in the cottage as Annie trains Maeve. The three of them spend a lot of time together and they form this really close friendship, almost like a family. Towards the end, the story does pick up and there is a bit of action. There is some problem that the characters had to face. But overall, the story and romance is very cute, very PG. I feel like the story reminds me a bit of like one of those like cute Disney shows. So yeah, if you enjoy those vibes and cozy vibes, I would recommend this book. I did feel myself getting a little bit slumpy reading this just because it's very like slow paced and cute. There's not a lot of, high stakes moment. So I didn't know if I wanted to read another cozy witchy book. So I decided to just try to read A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, and if I'm not into it, I'll just, pick another book. So I started reading this last night and I'm at page 76 and it's actually going pretty well. I'm actually kind of enjoying this book. So in this book, the main character, Sarah Swan, she's kind of this like child prodigy witch, and the Witches Guild has very, very high expectations for her. And the story starts out with Sarah being a teenager and she finds that her great aunt has died. Sarah has a very, very close relationship with her great aunt. So when she found that her great aunt died, she uses her magic to revive her aunt. Unfortunately, the spell required so much of her magic that after she revived her aunt, she was left with a very small amount of magic. And then the guild finds out that she cast this like forbidden spell, so they kick her out of the guild. And now Sarah has grown up, she's in her kind of 30s, and she still hasn't gotten back her magic. She still has only a very, very small amount of magic. But she's running the inn with her great aunt, and then there's a lot of other like odd characters living in the inn as well. The most notable side character, besides the male lead, is this talking fox. And then where I'm at the story, the male lead just arrived at the inn. He is also working for the guild, and he's something like a what? Yeah, it says here he's a magical historian. Yeah, so I'm gonna read this and then I will come back with my next check-in. Hi guys, I'm having the coziest Sunday. I'm still reading A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, and this book is just so good. I'm so surprised by how good this book is. Really enjoying. I'm halfway through this right now. I'll give you my thoughts once I finish this book. Also, it looked like it might rain soon, so it's a perfect weather. Just having a relaxing Sunday and having a cozy time reading this book. Hi guys, so I have finished reading A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, so let's discuss my final thoughts on this book. At my last check-in, I mentioned that the male lead, Luke, he just arrived at the inn. But I forgot to mention that prior to that, Sarah actually discovers an ancient magic spell that may help her to gain her magic back. So Luke arrived at the inn, and at first he tries not to get too involved with the people in the inn, including Sarah. He doesn't want to be involved in her trying to decipher this spell. But eventually he can't help himself and he starts to help Sarah with the spell. And then I also mentioned that I think the fox is the most notable side character, but actually it's not. All the other odd side characters, they also play a very big role in the story. They each have their own different personality and play a different role in making the story come together. So there is a very big found family aspect in this story. Yeah, so overall this book really surprised me. I thought that I might get into a slump just because I have read this author's other book, and that book got me a little bit slumpy. But this book was so good. I'm so happy I didn't write off the author after reading the first book. And I know this book's release date got pushed back a lot from the original announcement date, and maybe that was a good thing because maybe the author took more time to make this book better. Almost every detail, every sentence, every mundane things that these characters do, they make me feel something. This book definitely gave me very different vibes from Uncharmed. Like both books are cozy witchy books. They are heartwarming with found family, but I just felt more engaged and emotional with this one. And I don't know if this is the right way to portray what I'm feeling on these two books, but I think this book just felt more real and less pretentious compared to Uncharmed. As I mentioned, Uncharmed was very like Disney-esque, very like unicorn and rainbows. And this book, even though cozy, it gives off a more mature and realistic feeling to me. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this book and I highly recommend it to you to read during the autumn-fall season. So I'm going to end this reading vlog here. Thank you so much for joining me while I read some cozy witchy books. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys next time.